Hello there everyone, and welcome back to RealScreenReviews.com. I'm Nick Yakabuchi, and our next film is the horror mystery thriller Devil. This film opened on Friday, September 17th, 2010, and it stars Chris Messina, Logan Marshall Green, Bokeem Woodbine, Jenny O'Hara, and Matt Craven. This film comes to us from producer M. Night Shyamalan and director John Eric Dowdle, the director of the horror mystery thriller Quarantine from back in 2008. Now, in his previous film, the director confined the action to an apartment complex or apartment building, but this time he one-ups himself and tightens his grip about as much as possible by putting all of the excitement into an elevator of all places. Just think, if he keeps this up, his next film is going to take place in a laundry hamper. Now our story opens as most stories open from M. Night Shyamalan, and that would be in the Pennsylvania city of Philadelphia. In one very cool opening sequence reminiscent of Hitchcock's beginning of Psycho, the filmmakers have constructed an inverted portrait of Philadelphia. They lead us through the skyline to a high-rise, then down the elevator shaft to the awaiting cable car destined to be the coffin for some of our cast members. The camera then shifts to the lobby of the high-rise and introduces us to the five main characters in a very nice use of transition. Known to the audience only as salesman, young girl, old woman, guard, and mechanic, our leads are joined by Detective Bowden to round out a very tight thriller and one of the more confining movies to come around in a while. Basically, the five people involved get trapped around the 21st floor in a service elevator shortly after the movie begins. Very quickly, things start to go from bad to worse. There are problems with the lights, there are problems with the communications, and there are problems, period. During the first blackout, the young girl is viciously attacked and bitten, and after the mirror in the elevator is broken, the trapped then have access to stabbing weapons that can all be used against one another. The police are then called, and by anything but a sheer coincidence, the call is responded to by Detective Bowden, whose not-so-distant past couldn't be more relevant to our tale. Accusations soon turn to mistrust, and flesh wounds soon give way to much more violence and murder as the famous plot of Agatha Christie's "And Then There Were None" becomes more and more prevalent. Main characters in and out of the elevator seem to be systematically removed about every 10 minutes in bloody and gory fashion, or as far as PG-13 can give us. All then come to realize that one of the trapped inside is actually the devil himself walking amongst us to retrieve souls he's deserved of. Well, people, this is a very credible and suspenseful film just about the entire way through it. Devil begins as a thrilling movie by creating an easily believable and acceptable premise of being imprisoned in this space, and then graduates into more of a horror film. However, all the way through this transition, the film never glorifies the blood or violence above the interesting story that it's telling. Something else that worked in the movie's favor was that it had enough of a plot outside the elevator to accent what was going on inside it. You know, I never really get too technical in these reviews, but I really need to compliment the director and the director of photography, Tak Fujimoto, for being able to create this environment in such a tight proximity. The surroundings leave almost no room for anything but the actors, and then pile on top there is this full-length mirror in the space as well. This had to be more than tricky with all of the cameras and all of the lights for it to come off so seamlessly as to not even think about it as you're watching it. It's really truly something to be admired. In the midst of all this, they still managed to throw at you a very credible side story filled with redemption and forgiveness, and in a movie that's titled Devil, I really wasn't surprised by that. In the end, someone always has to have been the one that does it, and I wish that my socks would have been knocked off when that was revealed, but they weren't. A truly shocking finale would have solidified this as a dorm room classic, and even though the ending is very credible, I thought that it really just could have been a little bit better. I once again have to tip my hat to the filmmakers, however, for just taking on this project in the first place. To tackle this project meant to put their thinking caps on and to keep this movie interesting, fast-paced, tense, and most of all entertaining. John Eric Dowdle took this story from Shyamalan and crafted quite a fun, almost amusement park ride of a horror film, and that's no easy task. At 80 minutes, this film was a lot like the movie Phone Booth in the respect that you can only do so much with it in a space that is that confined. Devil moved right along from start to finish and delivered solid thrills throughout, never even giving the audience time to look at their watch or even be bored with it. Sometimes as I was watching this, I wish that the filmmakers would have went for the rated R violence because the story more than could have balanced it out, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. If you're looking for a better than average thriller with a side of bloody violence, then definitely check out Devil. You know, since I've been reviewing movies, I've given, this weekend's been the best ever. I've given the two other movies, Easy A and The Town, both 3.5 stars, and I'm going to give Devil 3 stars out of 4. And remember people, I'm not always right, only when it comes to the movies. And thank you for your attention.